Hello YouTube world. So I recently watched a video on Greg A's channel where he was down at airdog and getting a fuel pump for his airdog2, modified airdog2 for his soon-to-be P-pump conversion truck, or his drag truck, or whatever that was. Anyway, I had put a video up a long time ago, maybe about a month ago now, of this truck I'm sitting in now. It's 98 and a half. The truck was built, or we're building it, I should say, to run a outlaw street truck pull class. It's twin turbocharged. It's built 5.9. We did it in house. Turbo kit's done in house. All that stuff. Well, in the meantime, it's also a maxed out 215 12 mil P pump. But we were having a lot of problems with our airdog2 in the truck, and I spent a lot of time, I mean a lot of time, trying to tune for fuel pressure and we just couldn't figure it out. So after about, I'd say, a month of me testing and tuning and tweaking and whatnot, I finally figured out how to do it. And this video is proof that airdog actually tested their pump incorrectly, and Greg A is going to have to do more stuff to get his pressure up the way he wants to and the volume up he wants to. And this is absolute proof. So if you watch this gauge right here, that's our fuel pressure gauge. This is also the gauge directly on the P7100, not on the airdog. I'll fire it up. Truck's actually not running now, but if you look, truck off, 52 pounds of fuel pressure. And that'll stay there now until I fire it up, and it'll drop to about 50. And under load, wide open throttle, it'll actually creep up to about 54 pounds of fuel pressure. And how we actually had gotten that to happen, airdog in their testing, we also run dual EGTs and stuff. Anyway, airdog in their testing, if you watch them, they had a pressure port that they would play with, and they were saying that was simulating a dead ending at the P7100 or at a actual injection pump. That's where they have it wrong, because I'll show you what we got for a setup here. Hopefully the light's okay. I don't think it is. Anyway, this is our airdog setup down here. It's too dark. Right over here I have a regulator. I'll get a flashlight. Hold on. So this is an airdog2 with a 4G motor. Took the ball and spring actually out of the return side, which is where that guy is right there. There's where the ball and spring should have been. In its place, we put an Aeromotive A1000 big port style fuel pressure regulator, much like what airdog did in their test stand for Greg A. But that is actually only half of what you need to do to maintain fuel pressure in these trucks with this setup. Because of airdog, and they even admitted it, because of airdog is going to give you fuel on demand and what the actual injection pump needs, you have to put a second fuel pressure regulator on the system, on the back side of the injection pump. And I'll show you that now. So in cab, we have the fuel pressure on the P7100. This gauge right here is the actual fuel pressure coming out of the airdog2 4G. It's about 55 pounds, right around there. Obviously the truck's not running, but that actually does not change once the truck is running because it's on demand. Now going over to our injection pump here, we have another, this one in particular is from SX, but it's just a relabeled Aeromotive A1000 big port. So on the back side of P7100, you have a spill port. This is a modified one from Fair Valley. It's actually was supposed to maintain fuel pressure of, I don't know, I think he said 50 pounds, but that actually doesn't work at all. So what we ended up doing was putting this regulator in, and that's our sensor for our fuel pressure gauge in cab. Without this pressure regulator, there is no way that you can maintain 50 pounds of fuel pressure inside the P7100. And I've tried. I spent a ton of time working with this, trying to get this set up working properly, but there is absolutely zero way, unless you run a secondary fuel pressure regulator, to maintain 50 pounds of fuel pressure inside of this pump. So airdog's testing is incorrect. Well, it's correct because they're actually using that secondary pressure relief valve on the bottom of their test rig, but with the way, and that what that's actually simulating is this regulator right here. But what they said was incorrect, I should say. That pressure relief valve they were playing was meaning that that was dead-ending at the P7100. That's actually where they have it wrong, because fuel is going to be circulating through this no matter what you do. So if the airdog is, say, 55 pounds like this one will, it'll put 55 through here, but with an open spill port in the back, or an improperly using one, or a different pressure one, you're only ever going to have 20 pounds, 10 to 20 pounds coming out of this P7100, or actually inside of the P7100. You'll never see the 50 pounds coming out of that you will, unless you have this. The only way that that test stand would actually be correct is if you ran it returnless. So meaning that this would just be a stop point, and you would not be returning any fuel back to the motor, back to the tank at all. And that's because of the design of the airdog 4G, of it being a return system in itself and on demand. If they did not have the return system on that pump, the only way then to have the pressure would be by this. But because it's a return system, you need to maintain fuel pressure coming out of it, which, as you saw over there, off of that gauge over there at 55 pounds, it's now giving us 55 pounds to the pump, and at idle or off, it's about 50 pounds in the pump coming out of the pump. And under load, it actually increases to 54 to 55 pounds, which was what the airdog system, airdog pressure actually is. I mean, I played with ball and spring, I've played with shimming, I've played with single pressure regulator. And the funny thing about it is because of the way the airdog return system is, you cannot get by with just running one regulator here. Because of the way that system is designed, this will never adjust fuel pressure without having the second, or actually the first regulator on the airdog 4G itself. When I had talked to airdog a month and a half, 2 months ago about this, I was telling them, hey, I've been having problems with fuel pressure. I've been having, especially below 20 degrees. And I know there's a lot of guys on the internet right now stating that they had some problems with their 4G pumps when it got cold. And people were saying, oh, it's your fuel getting gelled. It's your fuel getting gelled. Just add some additive, you'll be fine. That's a bullshit comment, because in southeast Wisconsin, where we're actually located, we go to what's called winter blend fuel, and the fuel in the tanks are actually already have the additive, and it very seldom do you actually gel fuel around here. And we also run additive on top of it too, just for extra protection. What we were noticing, and I was switching motors out because of it, and all kinds of stuff, trying to. I mean, I was dealing with this for, I think, all the month of December and some of November, trying to figure out what the hell's going on with these pumps. And come to find out, what it actually is the two O-rings that go between the motor and the pump body. They're like a square type O-ring. When it gets 20 degrees Fahrenheit and below, and the colder it is, the worse it'll happen. What happens is that O-ring gets super hard and shrinks, and you actually lose all seal between the motor, and the filter body. And when that happens, you lose suction. And when you lose suction, the pump motor is actually running. You can hear the pump motor running, but you ain't flowing any fuel anywhere. The correction on that, what it was, is I actually have some round type O-rings meant for AC systems that were just the right size to fit the grooves inside the aeromotive machined area, and replaced them with that. And then I put a little Hylamar in there. And since I've done that, I have not had that problem. And I talked to the airdog about it, and they said that it was actually a probable thing, and that actually could happen. And I don't know if they're going to switch that in the meantime, or if that was part of the secret doings internally on Greg A's pump, or whatever the case may have been. But for you guys that are having issues in cold temperatures, try that. Get it a little bit thicker O-ring, put some Hylamar or Vaseline on those rings, and reseal, and see if your problem goes away. I have a good feeling that it will. So this, at any rate, this video is just basically stating, hey, for you guys, you don't need to get these big ass motors. This particular truck, like I said, it is twin turbo. It's 475 over 363. We have hit 110 pounds of boost in this thing. It pulls like a freight train. We have yet to hit the dyno, but I can tell you at 50 miles an hour, when this thing hits boost, I'm smoking all 4 tires. So this truck's got plenty of get up and go. It's got plenty of horsepower. That one single 4G pump, Aeromotive 150, with these regulator setups the way it is all the pump you need. Now, if you're drag racing and you're running nitrous oxide, you might need a little bit more pump than that. But for a system, a setup like this with a maxed out 12 mil pump with a 215 cam in it, yeah, that's all you need. So don't be afraid to experiment. Go out and get yourself, make sure that they are fuel injection, not carbureted regulators. When I first started playing with this, all I had was one fuel injection style regulator and one carburetor style regulator. And when you do that, you can only get 40 pounds pressure out of it, and then after that it starts basically aerating, and you'll get a really weird fluctuation in pressure. So be sure to use fuel injection or high pressure style regulators. And once you do that, you'll be able to dial your fuel pressure in no problem. Like, I can adjust this thing down to 30 pounds all the way up to 100 pounds if I wanted to, and it's no strain on that airdog 150, and I'm flowing just as much fuel as ever. So again, if for you guys out there that are having airdog 150 problems, or trying to maintain your 50 pounds of fuel pressure, or 60 pounds of fuel pressure, or 40 pounds of fuel pressure in your P7100, or even your VE pumps, or any kind of injection pump that you need a certain pressure, the only way with an airdog 150 to actually get that pressure and maintain that pressure and flow is to run 2 pressure regulators. That's it. There's no other way. So again, airdog, you guys need to go back to testing, and actually, Greg A, if you watch this video, you're gonna need to buy a secondary fuel pressure regulator right off the hit. If you don't, your system isn't going to work properly, and you're thinking you're gonna get the pressures you have, or you need in the P7100, but I can guarantee you will not. So again, just to restate, to maintain the proper desired pressure in a P7100 with an airdog 150 or 200, you need to have 2 fuel pressure regulators. That's it. All right, guys. Till next time. Thank you.